All right. I am joined today by Kate Papkin, General Manager of Keller Williams Metro Center. Kate, thank you for joining me and taking some time out of your busy schedule to discuss what I think is going to be a really fun topic and great conversation.
Yeah, well, I told you when you told me you were starting this that I wanted to be one of these guests on your podcast. So I'm excited to be here and share whatever we can with your audience.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And there's so much we could go into. I mean, you as the general manager of Keller Williams Metro Center, you oversee a brokerage that closes over $2 billion in real estate sales every year, over 1,000 agents. You've got a deep history of success in real estate sales and other sales. And yet that's not really what I want to talk about. I want to start there, but I really want to talk about your leadership journey, how that has affected your life, affected the lives of the real estate agents that you work with, and then talk about a really cool passion project that you've done, which was writing a book for so many of us out there that are parents and want to try to bring what you've learned and we've learned into from leadership perspective into our lives and our families. So yeah, I'm excited to jump in. Let's start with let's talk about your career journey. Where did you start? How'd you get into sales, and then how did it kind of progress and evolve over your career up until this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to school for journalism and I thought I wanted to be a reporter. And I went to Penn State University and I did an internship in Washington, D.C. for NBC News Channel and realized after a semester that that was absolutely not what I wanted to do. And yet I loved Washington, D.C., surrounding area. I've always loved real estate. I wanted to make a lot of money and help a lot of people. And I found my way to real estate right out of school for a big publicly traded home builder on the East Coast, NVR, Ryan and NV Homes, and I owe them a lot of gratitude for helping me develop, my skills in sales and training and helping people. I was with them for 12 years. I was started as like a sales assistant right out of college. Begged to be put on commission after 3 months. I'm like, I'm ready. I want to sell houses. I want to do this thing full on. And I loved it. And I really just found a lot of fulfillment in helping people get in new homes. And I did that for a really long time.
And I would
And
suspect 12 years in that role is pretty long compared to the average.
yes, I think most people stayed for like 3 to 4.
Hmm.
Um, I loved it, and I was in sales for 8 years, and I was consistently, at the top of my game and training other people and doing really well. And then they kind of tapped me and said, "We want you to go into management." And I said, "Why would I want to manage other people? Like I like doing this." And they're like, "Well, great, you can like, make less money and have more responsibility." And I was like, "Not really for me." Um, and I declined at that time. And then something happened that turned my world upside down. And I made some different choices after that. So, yeah.
Do you mind touching on that just briefly? Because I think a lot of people have had
Mhm.
personal experiences that they can relate.
Sure. So I was busy mom. My husband and I had our two kids at that time. They were 3 and 18 months. I was working nonstop. I was a little bit of a workaholic, I would say, and I thought I was tired, just stressed. You know, I didn't think anything was wrong other than what I was already doing and had been doing for years. And I ended up actually finding out that I was diagnosed. I was 32, and I was diagnosed with breast cancer very unexpectedly, no family history, no real symptoms, other than thankfully I found it myself and escalated it quickly. Because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be here the way that it was growing and the aggressiveness of it. So I took about 6 months off I had multiple surgeries, chemotherapy, radiation, and I needed to they basically told me like, you're going to have enough energy to either get through this and work or get through this and be there for your kids who are 3 and 18 months. And I said, well, that's an easy choice. I'm going to be there for my kids. So I took some time to think and reflect on what caused that and what how I was living, and chose at that point to make a lot of changes. And that was really one of the transition points from what I like to say has been kind of my journey, my professional journey, from being really good at sales to going into management and starting to succeed through other people, to today, 22 years later, being a leader that I always wanted to be, and really helping people drive their own results and being that coach, that consultant, that advocate, that cheerleader, that resource, that challenger. You know, they always say like the definition of leadership, well, this is in my company at Keller Williams, what Gary Keller defines leadership as: helping people get what they want. I'm sorry, helping people think the way they need to think to get what they want when they want it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe fundamentally now that this is where I'm supposed to be, and helping as many people as possible do that with a high level of urgency. Because once you go through something like that, where you're 32 and your life, you know, is essentially on the line, and, you know, you wake up and you do things a little differently. Everything is full on, everything is, no minute is wasted. And I've really had time to define what my values are, right? And that is my family, my personal growth, and then the impact that I get to make on everybody else around me, whether they're in our brokerages or whether, you know, it's through different means like the book, or giving back in the community, like getting involved in different things I do with the sole focus of making that impact. Because there's some level of, why am I still here? Right? I mean, I could have not been here easily, but I am. And so I plan to do something pretty massive with that. So, yeah.
I love that. And you're clearly passionate about helping the people around you succeed. It's one of my favorite definitions of leadership, and I know I can't remember who defines it this way, but you know, true leadership is helping people achieve their goals for their benefit. Like, you've got to really, if you're a true leader, like, you got to put what you want aside and really focus on what does that mean for that person. And then, yes, as a leader, as a business owner, you will derive a benefit from that, but it can't be about your benefit. If it's about your benefit, they're going to see right through that. Like, that's a selfish approach, and everybody is going to, you know, that you're trying to lead is going to see right through what your motivations are. It's got to be about them, and clearly, with you it is. And so, how important do you think your approach, and everybody takes a little bit different tact, but you know, how important has this been for your sales associates, your producing agents that are building teams, to not just have you pour into them in this way, but also learn how to do this themselves? Like, is that a real differentiator in success in real estate? Have you seen that show up on in various ways?
Absolutely. So I think, first of all, that style of leading with your own goals first, or the organizational goals, and leading with that, is where you hit the management level, right? So
Mhm.
I think about it as a progression from sales to management to leadership. And when I was managing, I had a staff, I had sales reps that were reporting to me, and I was part of a culture in a prior organization that was just really like top down. Like, it was like, here's what we want to achieve. This is how we're going to do it. Either like get on board or don't. And while that created results, it didn't lead to the best environment. It didn't lead to a company culture that I was really proud of, and it didn't lead to longevity in our team and cohesiveness. And so Then, as I transitioned into the world of brokerage and leading 1099 independent contractors that are all in partnership with us for their own goals and their own reasons and their own benefits, it was so refreshing to me to be able to lead them and learn how to change my style in terms of we're partners and I'm successful on a brokerage level when you're successful. Like it's the opposite of top-down corporate America, really. Like
Hmm.
it's empowering people to build these businesses. And I talk a lot about this concept of like a life by design, right? Because after I got sick, I looked up and said, what do I want my financial life to look like, my business life, my personal growth, my family life, my spiritual life, my fitness and health life? Like I redefined everything. Like I call it like a life audit. I did a full audit and I got rid of anything that wasn't serving me anymore. And it was like, no time for this. We're going to be real purposeful about this. And I bring that concept into these conversations and the meetings that I lead and the people that I coach in my world to identify for them what is their life by design. Is it travel? Is it philanthropy? Is it more time management and balance? Is it more money? Is it
Hmm.
investment properties, wealth portfolios? Like what are we wanting to achieve? Because the path and the requirement for each thing is going to be a little different. And what I find is that in the real estate agent progression, it's a similar process because oftentimes, real estate businesses become successful by one individual agent who just does a phenomenal job in marketing themselves and their value, but that is not scalable. Once you hit a ceiling of not being able to continue to serve more consumers, or you have to refer business out, we teach them to start teams and organizations and continue to scale and grow.
Hmm.
But there's a similar pain point there, in that until they work on themselves, their own leadership, and their own ability to succeed through others. One of my favorite sayings around this is like going from success to significance, right? Like you can be as successful as you can be, but there's a lid and a ceiling to that unless you're willing to, you know, take the steps needed to make that transition.
Yeah, and I would agree with you, and also take it one step further. I mean, I don't think it's unique to real estate salespeople teams. I think it's almost a universal truth within business. Like, you've got somebody who's really good, especially entrepreneurial businesses, small businesses that are starting up, where you've got somebody who's really good at what they do, whether it's selling real estate or building widgets, and then to take that from their skills to management and showing other people how to do what they do, and get them to do the task, do the activities necessary to keep the train moving, keep the business building. But then at a certain point, you do hit that ceiling where you can only keep growing and scaling the business if you take those people and allow them to do the same thing that you did, which is succeed through others. And that in my personal journey, that has been probably the most challenging, but also the most rewarding component of building a business, which is trying to coach and support people in their journey. Because it's one thing to do it; it's another thing to try to coach somebody else, because it's difficult. It's difficult. It's a different skill
Well,
set.
yeah, and it needs to be somewhat of a curated experience, right, for that
Mhm.
person because people are absolutely necessary for us to scale any of these businesses, like you just said, and people are also often the most complicated and the most complex. And I know, we have AI now and there's all these tools to make us more efficient. I think that is wonderful. And still the complexity of a human and understanding what motivates them, how they think, what gets in their way, where their blind spots are. That's what I love to do. That's what gets me excited to like dig in and figure out, okay, how do I get this person from where they are to where they want to be and partner with them in a way that helps them do that through their own discovery and actions. And so that's how, my company, like at Keller Williams and specifically like our offices at KW MetroCenter, really specialize in helping partnering with our agents in making sure they're running solid, profitable, and successful businesses to which they are able to then fund what they want to achieve in their life. That's
Hmm.
our whole thing.
Yep.
And so we have specific tools to do it, which is why, I'm in the role that I am.
Yep. Have you seen this change shape at all over the last 3 years as we've gone through a real estate market correction? I mean, it was I believe it's probably just as important, but has it changed the way you have needed to coach and show up for your people and how they have needed to coach and show up for their people as you're in a different market than we were 3 years ago? And you know, have you seen anything change about this?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I mean, we've done expense audits with almost all of our people, all of our businesses, to make sure, when things are running smooth and there's a abundance of business, you might overlook, that one expense that we're not really holding accountable, or, we got real right, about what we were doing.
Mhm.
And the agents as well. I mean, we go through with them. I mean, we always tell them they should expect a 3-time return on any investment that they make in their business, whether it's systems, tools, or people. And so going through that exercise to say, okay, is this thing that you're spending money on, and let's look at it over like a 90-day period of time, is it actually adding value to your business, or would no one even notice if you didn't do it anymore or have that tool? So
Mhm.
then that's one piece. And then the second piece is like making sure that people on your team are motivated enough to achieve the outcomes that they actually want in order for it to also benefit your business.
Mhm.
So some people just don't have that level of need, desire, or motivation. And so we've had to kind of put people on different seats of the bus, if you will, right? Like move them into the role or the opportunity, or meet them where they're at. Because I always tell our leaders, like, you can't want it more than they want it, right? They have to show up. We can set the table, but they have to come eat, right? So there's that. Also, I think when times get tough, and I've been guilty of this myself, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm sure you have, it's you want more
I've been
control,
I've been
like you just
guilty of most things, so I think it's a pretty safe bet.
yeah. And it's hard to not want more control when things are harder, right? And I'm seeing a lot of real estate business owners want to step back in, and sometimes that's the right move, sometimes that's warranted. And other times, they are complicating it, right? So it just depends on the nature of that business and that situation to say, like, what's our right play here. But I've seen, pretty much getting really micro on expenses, on predictability in revenue, production, and profit,
Mhm.
getting the right people around them, and in that case, sometimes letting some people go, or moving them into a different role that's more beneficial for them and the organization. And then lastly, like, what is the highest and best use of a leader in generating the impact, production, and profitability of that specific business?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's going to be in the throes in the field with everyone. Sometimes it's just taking a more coaching consulting role and holding their team more accountable. Um, Sometimes it's a cultural piece, like we've got to get the team to gel more together. And sometimes it's just the development of the leader itself. Like I always ask my leaders, like, what are you reading? What are you listening to? Who are you interviewing? And what experiences are you creating for yourself? Because you are the lid, right, of your organization. So those are all the things we kind of go through. But yeah, it's been fascinating over the last couple of years, I'll tell you that.
It has been, and I agree with you. Over the last 3 years, I think one of the biggest challenges that I personally faced running our business was, kind of step one, acceptance of the fact that there are things that are out of our control, and you have to accept and acknowledge that the market has gone down and the business has contracted because I think initially you're almost in denial. Like you don't want to admit, you don't want to go in front of your people and say, "Yeah, business is down." And yet, unless you do that, you can't have empathy with your team and understand like the pain that they're all going through with, transactions and business being down. But if you don't do that, then you can't get to the next step of addressing it. Because I mean, you and I have both seen there are a lot of businesses, a lot of professionals in real estate, whether they're talking about real estate sales or title, mortgage, they're doing great. They're having,
Record
historic
years.
years, record years, because they accepted it and then they just, stayed positive and went and did the work. And like I've seen people within our organization move through that quickly, and others that didn't move through it, and it just kind of get stuck in the quagmire of, oh my gosh, it's so much harder than it was 3 years ago. And from a leadership perspective, trying to meet people on the front lines of that and helping them work through it has been challenging, because you're also working through your own challenges, and getting the business through the challenging market, to say, okay, I'm going to pause and I got to meet with my people still. I gotta make sure they're doing all right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we always say change is inevitable, but participation is optional, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, there's some people that are more resilient, are easy, are faster to say, where's the opportunity in this market? Like we always say, while the market itself may be down, there's enough business being done in each of our markets for each of us to hit our goals.
Hmm.
It's just how we do it is different now, right? And more work, to be honest, right?
Sure.
I mean, it's just a
Yeah.
little bit tougher, but our lives our professional lives are cyclical, right? In what
Hmm.
we get to do. And so, the market share that we gain now will probably never give up, right? But the
Right.
market share that we lost or lose during this time we'll probably never get back. And so that's what we tell the agents a lot is like, how do we get your share of what you want to achieve out of the opportunity that is out there?
Yeah. Yep. All right. I want to shift gears, and I want to make sure we talk about your book,
Yeah.
because it's so cool. So tell me, tell me about the book, and why you decided to write it.
hmm Okay, so having managed and or led or coached professionals now for, gosh, probably over 12 years in total in this kind of capacity through that evolution I talked about, I just realized how important individual programming is. And where our programming comes from is a lot of what we were exposed to growing up. What we were told, the people in our lives, the environments that we were in. And I grew up in a house where my dad was a trainer and a certified coach under people like John Maxwell and Zig Ziglar and Les Brown. And so I grew up in like my dad used to make me wear a button that said I talk to myself, meaning like positive self-talk. Okay. But as a teenager,
Yeah.
you're wearing a button that says I talk to myself, not like the coolest thing in the world to do. So this is like, I would walk downstairs and there's like signs on the kitchen cabinets, like you got this, like this, that's how I grew up, right? Which
Hmm.
explains a lot about where I landed, I think. Um, However, I come to realize that like that's very unique and different, right? And
Hmm.
so, one of my motivations behind this is how to get to people like generational impact, right? Like how to get to people at a younger age to give them tools or framework or thought around what could make a difference in their trajectory as they make decisions for themselves into like young adulthood and beyond. And to have an entrepreneurial, perspective about it. So my dad had this idea years ago when I was young, like I was probably like 14, 15, the age of my oldest now. And it was this idea that like you would give your kid a report card and they would grade you on their perspective of how you are as a parent. Well, he wrote it at the time, never did anything with it, didn't go anywhere. And as I have progressed professionally and realized how important something like this could be, I didn't want him to ever regret not getting it out to the market and in the hands and households of people that it could really help, which was the intention. So we got the dusty old like transcript off the shelves. We dusted it off and we said, okay, we're going to redo this. We're going to make it a little more relevant to today. You know, there's things now like technology and
Mm-hmm.
phones and all kinds of stuff that was different, from back then. But we rewrote it together. So it was like a multi-generational like passion project.
So cool.
We worked with a publisher, we got it out. And what it is like it's an interactive tool for your child or children to give you feedback about their view on your parenting. And each chapter of the book is a subject to be graded. There's no failing. Okay, I want to be clear on that. So if you're scared to do it, don't. It's A is for awesome, B is for bravo, C is come on, you can do better, and D is duh. Okay, so and I recommend you actually, if you are part of a two-person parenting household, that you actually have them grade you separately because
Okay.
it was shocking some of the things that they perceived about my husband versus me and our styles. But
Interesting.
every chapter is geared and written to like how you produce a more cohesive communication in your household, how
Mhm.
you can build and protect time where you're all fully present, which is really hard right now with our kids and us as well,
Mhm.
especially running multiple businesses and being present with each other is huge. Um, and it just gives a lot of fun tips and it creates a dialogue that I don't think exists. Like at work, you get a review, right? Or you get an employee review, or you're giving them. In school, you get a report card on your academics. My kids are in travel sports, they get reports on their metrics and their improvement on their statistics. But as a parent, like, we're out here winging it to some degree, right? Going off of what we were taught and what our programming is. And sometimes that's awesome and sometimes that's duh, right? So we got so I'm excited about it. I'm proud of it. I think it's really fun to do. I found that you really need the kids to be like second grade or older for you to
Hmm.
really get something out of it. I've had people do it with their adult children just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's all in alignment with impact and generational impact and helping people feel empowered to live their best life.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to do.
That's so great. I mean, as a father of two, 14-year-old and a 12-year-old, I can tell you, my wife and I are totally winging it. Like totally winging
Yeah, we're
and
all winging it.
yeah, we're all faking it till we make it, but having um some kind of guide, some kind of tool to put some structure around that would be super helpful. And what did your I assume did you just do this with your boys? So
Yeah, we've done it with them several times
yeah.
in the progression of it. One of my sons actually picked out all of the graphics in the book, so that was fun.
Oh,
We got
fun.
to do that together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's shocking the things that you think. Like one of them was one of the subjects and chapters is like creating fun, like creating memorable experiences on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And they graded my husband much higher in that category than me. And here I'm the one that plans said fun,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
And yet in their minds they were like, okay, well, dad's just like more fun than mom, right? Which is fine. But it was like it was one of those like so you have to go into it with an open mind because
Yeah.
you're going to hear things. But my thing is, I'd rather hear it. I'd rather know. And that's why my partnership with my husband is so great, right? Because like I'm planning it and he's like,
And he's
executing
pretty
it.
fun. I
He's
mean, like
he's fun.
he's pretty
Yeah.
fun.
He's a
We'll
fun
give him
guy.
credit. He's pretty fun.
So
Um,
it's just eye-opening to see how they think about things when you're
yeah.
over here thinking like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I
So
can't wait till you do it
I'm
and
going
hear
to, and then we're
the
gonna get back on here. And I'm gonna, tell you my experience. But
follow-up.
um, so it sounds like you've created a tool to help parents in this, in our most important job, raising our kids. And yet it sounds like probably at least subconsciously, but maybe consciously, the kids are also benefiting from learning. Maybe they don't even know they're learning, but they're getting they're getting this experience, giving feedback to their parents, and they're learning some of these lessons, and just like you did when you grew up in your dad's household.
Well, I think that yeah, the other part that I didn't mention is like each chapter is really full of research about how to, based off of like parenting best practices and things that create cohesion in a parent-child relationship, things that create more self-confidence, things that create more resilience and grit in these young minds. And that's really the point, right? The exercise is to open the dialogue. It's kind of like when you get a dog, right? And you bring your new puppy to like dog training, and the trainer is training you as the dog owner, right? They're not training the dog because like
Right.
we're the problem or we're the opportunity, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that. Like it really is a parenting guide, but it's done in like a really fun way to do it together and bring that open communication in. Because I don't know about you, but like I have my kids are 14, 12, and 5, and I get a lot of like one word answers, right? So trying to figure out like, how's your day? Good.
Yeah.
What was the best part of your day? Well, I don't know. So, setting the tone for like, this is what we're gonna do this thing,
Yeah.
and we're gonna like participate, and it gives you a way to ask in a different way to get a different answer, and then also improve or give you some ideas, right, about what you could choose to do to show up better as a leader in your house. Because
Mhm.
that's the thing, like we're all leading. We're leading our house, we're leading our families, we're leading our businesses, we're leading our communities. And to me, it's like all integrated. It's just a slightly different approach given the situation that we're in that moment.
Right. And we spend so much time thinking about and practicing leadership in our businesses. Why aren't we doing the same thing within our families? Because I think you and I can both agree, and most people probably agree, like at the end of the day, that's more important. Like that's more
Absolutely.
important
That's
to
what
us.
we're really
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Quick funny story because it made me think about this morning in the kitchen. I said to my son, "Good morning," and I got a and I said,
Mhm.
"Good morning." And I was like, "I'm gonna keep asking you good morning until you actually respond to me in English with
Right.
like, you know,
A grunt is not a response. Yes,
right."
I know. It's the age, I
I
think.
know.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
but that's the difference is that you're like, in that little small example, holding him accountable to like actual dialogue, right? And
Right.
I think a lot of times it's easier, and I've been guilty of this, it's easier to just be like, okay, like you're in a mood, you're gonna do your thing.
Yeah.
So I think just like we wouldn't have an employee like, good morning, like no, like let's communicate, right? So it gives us it's all the same thing, but I agree that raising these kids and our families and all the kids out there, I mean, that's the future. And some people are exposed to things at a much higher level and others are not. And our goal is to just give more tools around that. And not just in the book. I mean, I am a professional volunteer for DECA. Like I strongly believe in DECA and like setting these kids up professionally for, at a young age. Like all those things, I guess that's really my true passion is like generational impact through what I've learned and my progression from sales to management to leadership and what I get to do every day with this company, with Keller Williams, with MetroCenter, and it just all kind of fits.
I love it. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time out of your morning to share this with me and anybody that's listening. I really appreciate it. It's been awesome conversation, Kate. I love what you're doing, not just in your business, which is great things, but also like taking those lessons and skills and delivering them back and putting together resources for all of us to deliver back to our families and the greater community. So thank you, and look forward to circling back on how it goes when I get my report card back from my kids.
Yes, you can get the book on Amazon, and then we have to have a follow-up about your experience and what you took away from it. Because
Yeah,
again, it's more about us than it is about them.
yeah.
And yet, yeah,
Maybe
I'm
I'll bring my
excited.
kids on. They can talk about
Yes. Oh, that'd be fun. Like a live unveiling of the report card.
it. Oh,
Um,
I don't
I,
know.
I like
Good,
it. That would
good
get
thing
an
this isn't
audience.
live.
Well, Dave, thanks for having me. This is really fun, and I value like our business partnership so much, and everything that your company does is awesome, and I just really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kate.